Hello again, and welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
And I'm Bob Anthony. Good to see you, Eric.
Bob, good to see you again. And for this edition of Media Watch, our guests are, to my left, Alexis Grier, and to Alexis' left, Keith Gonzales. Bob, last show we examined what was going on in Harlem, Miss Harlem, the digital entrepreneurship that was being launched by Bruce Lincoln, his cohorts, and the digital training program that Melvin McRae was doing out of Miss Harlem and Riverside Church. And it was a very interesting show, and we actually repeated it. But because, as you well know, we've been doing something similar with your help in Mount Vernon, we thought we'd bring some folk on to talk about the Mount Vernon program.
I mean, it's good to balance it out with what's going on elsewhere in the community. And like you said, up in Harlem, they're doing a lot to bring broadband, high-speed broadband up there. But our guests today have done a lot in Mount Vernon to bring these skills and to the youth, and to let them know what can be done with a little bit of tutoring. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Alexis, you're working out of the Doles Community Center under the auspices of Media Magic EVTED. Tell us a little bit about that and what the program is and how it got started.
Okay. Well, I'm doing an after-school film program at the Doles Center for 8th grade through 12th grade students. Most of my students are from the city of Mount Vernon, and it's pretty much teaching them the process of filmmaking. So they're learning from screenwriting all the way up into post-production. So they actually get to be on set and work the camera. They learn how to work with sound. So they have a completed work of art at the end of their the 3-month session. And so, we just finished our first session, and we went into our film festival.
The film festival, if memory serves me correctly, early May 2nd, we were calling it online the Next Gen Film Sensations. And basically, we basically did a film festival, student film festival, for the Mount Vernon community and the community at large, because we actually put it out on the web for folks to come, and some folks did come from far and wide.
Right.
Keith, a little bit about that Next Gen Film Sensation, because you're the creative director at Media Magic EVTED. How did it come out, and tell me your take on it.
Well, fortunately for me, anything creative is what I'm involved in, or what I feel like I need to be involved in. So working with Alexis, we actually looked at the films. We tried to put together graphics that would seem appealing to make people want to think that this is a part of their community, and also to bring some sort of pride and ambition to give our young people at least a little bit more of an understanding that your work is important to everyone. So we have to have a film festival, something that everybody can celebrate and everybody can take a part of.
So the point is not just to make sure they know how to use the equipment, not just so that they understand the software and the computers, but to bring out their own creativity.
Right.
You want their input, their knowledge base, their inspiration to come out, and that's part of the point in making sure the community gets to see the student festival.
Exactly. The thing is, at all times, we're always trying to promote entrepreneurship. And so you have to show it from a business model. You have to say, well, this is what you've done, but this is how it folds into a larger picture. This is what you can take out of it and how you can, expose your art to other people. And so as a film festival, the excitement generated to the community, the people that came up to me to ask me about that, wow, a film festival, and how we decorated and things that we did to to create that, conversation and communication.
Were the
Is-
people surprised to find that you had that much talent right there locally?
Yeah, yeah, and that was enriching, in and of itself.
Alexis, you knew you wanted to do the film festival just to show the kids what was possible.
Right.
Tell me what your expectations were for not just the product that would be shown, but what kind of attendance you might get at that inaugural film festival.
To be honest, I wasn't expecting a lot. I didn't think. I mean, I knew it was going to be a good turnout, but I didn't think it was going to be that big of a good turnout.
The place, folks, was overflowing.
Yeah.
There was standing room.
Yeah, standing
Yeah,
room.
and most of my marketing and stuff is done off of social media because I'm always like on Facebook or Instagram and Twitter, and so I put a lot of flyers out on that. Not necessarily going around and handing out flyers. So that's how I get the word out. That's how I got the word out about the program. And so, like I said, friends, family, but tons of people came that I didn't even, I didn't think that would show up. So the word got out.
Now, it's only a 28-minute show, so we can't really show all the things that we would like to show, but I know there was one young man who came into your program, and basically he was more art-oriented. And tell us a little bit about him and then how you and Keith worked with him.
Right, Anthony Cargill. He came in. He is an excellent artist. He draws great work, and he wanted to be able to get his artwork to film, so have his figures actually move. And so I'm not that good in getting that from point A to B. I'm mostly just film, and so I know Keith was really helpful with getting his artwork into actually moving figures. So he would be the best person to ask.
Well, as a professional artist, who I've run art departments, for many different companies, I've worked with young artists and actually have worked with them to show their work, and what you learn as you go doing this kind of thing is that there are some people who have a talent that, you can talk to them about their talent, but you really have to work with them. You have to let them show their work. And actually, there was one young man that I remember from many years back who was just like Anthony. And, he has already agreed to actually come and work with us, in the future in our art projects. But Anthony had that kind of degree of art. He had that creativity, he had that vision, and so I knew it was going to be an easy fit.
Well, I know, Bob, you were looking at some of the pre-show stuff. So why don't we let Anthony's story unfold with Anthony's words? Corey, why don't we just cue up that first DVD and roll the Becoming Lincoln Anthony DVD for our viewers at home to see along with Bob.
Hi, my name is Anthony Cargill, and I am an artist. I love to draw. Drawing helps me focus on images and think about different ideas for creating my own characters. Another reason why I love drawing so much is that I can express my feelings through my sketches to show people what I am thinking about and what I am really good at. I am most interested in drawing manga, aka Japanese comics. Those comics are more interesting to me. My influence comes from an artist named Mark Crilly. I am inspired by his work because he is an amazing manga artist, one of the best for his ideas, and he can also draw real-life sketches. The images that I am sharing with you today are characters that I have created for the friends that come to me with ideas, or simply just characters that come to life in my head. One day, I'm going to create my own manga comics and have my family and friends read it. When I first heard about Foursquared film program and the chance to learn filmmaking, I immediately thought that it would be a great opportunity to expand my skills and drawing by using the program to help me focus on my creativity. Also, I share with other members in the program and perhaps can make my still images into moving figures. During a conversation with one of my film instructors, a different idea came to me to create a story about two cops questioning a likely suspect. My instructor loved the idea. I kind of thought it was a good idea too. The script was written and the film was shot. Before my eyes, my ideas came to life. These images are how I feel my character lives on paper and acetate. Let me introduce my story, The Interrogation of Lincoln Anthony.
Now, having seen that, I'm a geek, as you know, and I like to fiddle with hardware and software. But sometimes you can get so wrapped up in the hardware that the creativity doesn't go anywhere, where they're so interested in doing the fades and the unique tweaks that the software allows you to do. This was a very balanced approach. He got his message across very simply, very paced storyline. The images were fantastic. He's a terrific artist. Yeah. But if you just shot the images without that voiceover and without the effects, that's not really a good film. And so I can see where the program helped draw out that talent. That's a very good example. And I just want to say, I have no relation to Lincoln Anthony. I'm Bob Anthony, but I have no relation to Lincoln.
But no, Keith and Alexis drew out Anthony's story idea, and then Kevin McGrew worked with him as his advisor. And so they then took Anthony's idea and ran with the film, which was called The Interrogation. So Alexis can tell you some more about where you may be able to see The Interrogation. There was another young lady, Michaela Bell, whose film we just didn't get a chance to burn to DVD for this program, but we tell us a little about Michaela and how she turned out as another student in the program.
Okay. Well, Michaela is a really special student. She's one of my best students. She's really just really eager to learn, and she's just so excited about being in the film program. And so originally her idea was huge. It was like a major budget film, and so I helped her to condense it into a short film, and it pretty much worked out. So what she did was she came up with a great idea, and we shot it, and she wrote, directed, produced, and she did the music. She composed her own film.
She did the score.
Yeah, she did the score for her film, and so she pretty much did everything. And we just assisted her, in doing that, and she got a lot of good feedback with her film, and she hopes to put it into some film festivals outside of ours. Yeah.
But that must make you feel good, the fact that you had to concentrate and reduce what she offered rather than say, oh no, we need more than what you gave us.
Right.
I mean, you actually had to cut it to make it fit.
My students, they think big. They think really big,
That's terrific.
which is really good. But, given time.
Yes, they, given time, they understand the realities.
Right.
Everybody's forced down to a budget. Even with my writing, I have to write to a news hole, and it's not as much as it can be, but you do what you can given the space and resources you have.
And we make it work.
Yeah. No, the interesting thing is what we're trying to do is make the space, Media Magic, EVTED at the Doles, an incubation center for creativity.
And you should say what that is. The Doles Center in Mount Vernon, that's the community center run by the city?
That's correct.
And where is it located?
It's actually at 250 South 6th Avenue in Mount Vernon. and I believe they built it in the mid-'70s to service the community.
And you've been
And-
retrofitting a space never built for what you're using it for, but you're slowly shaping it into a real multimedia space, given your...
Yeah, at some early iteration, I believe they may have had some kind of technical lab there, but when it went into disuse and fell on hard times, whatever was up there disappeared. But the interesting thing about it, it's a center, community center, that not only houses the general community, it has a senior center in there, it has a daycare center, and so it's like a melting pot for the community. And so when the city and the mayor, Ernie Davis, offered a space in the Doles Center as opposed to setting us up in a separate entity, we chose to go into the Doles Center because
Right.
we want that interaction.
Okay.
And lo and behold, we were there when Alexis came to visit.
Right.
And I think we talked to Alexis when
Right.
she early on.
I think so.
And we could recap it for the viewers who didn't see the early show. Alexis said, "I've got a film program. We need some place to do." I said, "Come knock on our door."
Yes.
So
And you made it happen.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
so-
I was going to say something also about Four Squared Film Program. One of the things, I didn't know what to expect. I saw your work originally, and being creative, I saw it and I said, wow, this is great. But I had a chance to work with you in other times, at Arts on Third. And so I got a chance to see how well you direct, and how well you work with people. And so getting back to the kids, it became like apparent that you were going to do this thing so great.
Yeah, my babies.
Yes, they are.
You talked about Anthony Cargill and how he expressed himself so well with his artwork. But Michaela, I had the fortune of being directed by her. She cast me into her film.
She did.
Terrific.
and wrote my script and actually directly sat with me in the sound room and actually told me how she wanted me to inflect, told me how she wanted me to recite the script.
Voiceover.
And I'm going to tell you, working with her was just overwhelming. The idea that these kids had that much talent.
And she
So-
did the music.
And she did the
That's
music.
that's way beyond my skills.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I got to tell you.
So,
These are some talented young people.
Yeah.
And see, the larger vision basically is not just an incubator for ideas, but where to acquire old-fashioned skills, because we've got audio analog boards that we will definitely teach them how to do audio, because part of our training in filmmaking is how to actually do sound mixes so that we're happy with them. Because the first pass was quite good, but we need some improvement in sound mixing. But we also have the digital capability because of all these iPads and all these different softwares that you can use. So we're going to be trying to not only give them the old nuts and bolts, we're going to try to give them the new technology. And this whole bit about the digital entrepreneurship that we're talking about for Silicon Harlem, the same digital entrepreneurship we're talking about for these young people in Mount Vernon. One of the things that Keith has in mind is a graphic arts program that will lead towards a gaming program. And it's interesting, you weren't there when Anthony came in after the film festival. Last week, Anthony came and said, "Oh, I got some new sketches for a new idea." I said, "Oh, yeah, show them to us." He popped out these new manga sketches. And I said, "Oh, it's interesting." He said, "Yeah, I got a female lead character." I said, "Oh, that's good. Female lead. That's the new, that's great." He said, "Yeah, and she's gonna do this and that and that and the other." I said, "Well, Anthony, that sounds like you already got your story and your backstory." He said, "Yeah, kinda." I said, "Yeah, okay, write that down. Bring it in so Alexis can sit down with you and we can talk about." He said, "It's gonna be a comic." I said, "That's it. It's gonna be a comic book first, and then from the comic book, it's gonna be the game."
Exactly.
Now, The other young people immediately perked up. Elijah, a great young editor,
Okay.
says, "Oh, okay, yeah, okay, so yeah, we can start this game. We can do X, Y, and Z." That's okay. First we get the comic book, then we get the game.
Sure.
And automatically we had a team concept
Yes.
going. Okay,
Sure.
but they're not shy about saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to do this comic book, and then we're going to do this game." And so now it's on us to try to bring in some of those skills.
Right.
And I'm hoping that we'll get some gaming individuals to come volunteer and start giving them the groundwork in that.
You know, I'd like to chime in on that, you know, because it occurred to me, and one of the reasons why I think the success of the program is so important is the fact that, you know, so often these young kids see the success of Spider-Man 2 or the success of Godzilla and, you know, these kinds of, Star Wars. But they think of it as way beyond their means to be able to
do
create
that.
these kind of involved ways of thinking. Where my way of thinking is, it's just your story that separates you from that greatness. You have to, project yourself into your future. And that's why, we're talking about gaming, and that's why we're talking about comic books and other modes of entrepreneurial work
And I'm
that
glad
young people can do.
I'm glad you're thinking that way, because I go as a tech reporter. I attend a lot of these angel events where they talk about startups and young kids who want to finance their new projects, be they games or just apps for the smartphone, and they're not sure where to go. They don't know where to get the focus, where to get the direction. They don't realize there's actually funding out there, but you need to be ready with that storyline, with
Sure.
that software, and with
Right.
the support group that
Exactly.
seems to be gelling in Mount Vernon.
Our last bull head-to-head session was story, story, story. And Alexis is always preaching story. So
Exactly.
the interesting thing is what I love. Alexis, you tell us your next segment, because I know there's a summer section that's coming up, and then there's be a fall section. Where are you going from there? And then Keith, you tell us where you're going.
Okay. Well, I'm planning on starting my summer session in July, the middle of July, where I'm not going to have the students work individually on a project. I'm going to get them together and work as a group on one project. So they'll sit down and they'll come up with a story. And they'll write that story, and eventually they'll shoot it. And then we will premiere that in our second session film festival. So that's what we're going to be doing for the summer. It's separate from the after-school film program. So again, the summer would just be one collaborative project. We haven't decided what the theme will be, but I am thinking about giving them a theme. I do want them to think more real-life issues
sure.
instead of, coming up
you're
with...
gonna, you're gonna sign the
Yeah,
film.
so we spoke about that, so they have an idea of what I'm
If you
looking
need-
for.
If you need any kind of creative idea, I have one for you. You might like it.
Okay.
And Keith, you were talking about graphic arts and
Yeah.
possible coinciding that digital gaming with precursors to the gaming
Right.
graphic arts.
Well, as we
program.
said, one of the things I saw immediately is that when you're dealing with young men, and for that matter, young women too, these days, they're really caught up in the gaming world. They really enjoy that as a pastime, and so you begin to understand the way to reach them, whether it be, in school, social media, is you give them something that they can attach themselves to. Game or through some sort of communication. So what I'm doing is I'm putting together an art program that will allow them to develop their craft in terms of drawing, in terms of developing animation ideas, and then actually structuring the animation and actually creating a project that leads to a final result, which will then be a game and will be something that will be born right in Mount Vernon.
Okay, that sounds like, it may well tie right into Anthony's comic book
That's right.
creation into that, or it may just be the precursor of. But one of the things that I definitely want to try to focus on for that media center is to see how many mentors we can get to come in that can help bridge this, quote, digital divide. If we can get some folks, I know there's an organization in the greater metropolitan area called Girls Who Code, and there are women who are actually instructing young ladies in how to write code. And I'm hoping maybe there's a branch that might branch up into Mount Vernon and come into our umbrella and teach our young ladies how to code, because once you can code, you can also make games. And so you can bring it all together. And of course, our big thing is to try to reach out to get some of these people like Time Warner Cable and Verizon who are in the Mount Vernon community to start coming up with their community givebacks to make sure that places like the Doles Center are tied into broadband networks.
Right.
And so there needs to be, and I understand that there's a lot of consolidation going on, so I think there are probably some pipers that need to be paid as far as giving back to the community to make that consolidation get approved. I'm not speaking out of turn here.
No, you're not.
I'm not speaking as bluntly as I could and should, but but you understand that the message is these corporations need to be reaching into these communities where they're actually taking dollars out of customer bases and giving back to make sure. And they do have programs, you know.
And to make sure every community is wired equally, not to have a focus here and a focus there. We all, if we're all going to have a chance of entrepreneurship, we need the proper connections.
As Bruce Lincoln was saying, we need that next generation of the internet, that next generation that has ubiquitous broadband capability, so this entrepreneurship can function in all communities.
And we have about a minute and a little bit of change left, but has this turned out the way you envisioned at the beginning when we spoke a few months ago?
For Alexis, you can answer about your startup and how well or how ill you've been served thus far, and what does that do for your next step going forward.
In about 15 seconds.
Okay, well, I envisioned it being not much like it is right now. I do need a little bit more help as far as advisors coming in. We have a few right now, and we are doing what we can, and it's working. But I think it would be a much more smoother process if we had a little bit more help coming in, just in the areas of like editing, using the software and stuff. I can't do everything.
And before we wrap up with 30 seconds left, what email address can they reach you at? 4 squared SQ film program @gmail.com.
Folks, thanks for joining us. This has been another edition of Media Watch with Eric Tait.
And I'm Bob Anthony.
And this has been brought to you by EVT Educational Productions with the great assistance of Manhattan Neighborhood Network. We'll catch you the next time.